Hi, Lake Grove family. So here we are in our 365 readings at story 147. David returns in triumph. As you have been following along in the stories, you know that this triumph is now between David and his son, Absalom, who actually, sadly, tragically, has been pursuing and trying to unseat David from his royal throne. And finally, Absalom, who had shaped a life for himself that was filled, honestly, with greed and selfish ambition, monuments to himself, and who could not think of anyone else while his life has ended as violently as he lived it, and as solitarily as he lived it as well. Now, David may be returning in triumph, but let's remember that David is playing a couple of roles here. David the king might be returning in triumph, but David the father is grieving like absolutely every parent does at the tragic loss of a child. And this one filled with such tragedy of rebellion and things all gone wrong. David is howling with the sorrow of a loss of a son he loved so much. And now he's coming to that really full, severe realization he could not control him at all. You and I can't control other people at all. The decisions that they make, what they do. Someone else's life is actually someone else's life. And Absalom took his life and lived it the way he chose to. And it is such a deep grief for David because he suffers over him as a father would. Frederick Buechner talks about this so poignantly, that David's heart as a father, that says, David as a father, why, if he could have died for Absalom, he would have. If he could have changed him, if he could have lived his life for him, he would have. If he could have paid the price for the boy's betrayal, he would have done it. If he could have given his own life to make the boy alive again, he would give it. But even a king can't do that. As later history was to prove, it takes a God. That brings tears to my eyes, doesn't it? Because we can feel the ache of a father longing to save the life of his son, even when that son has hurt and wounded and injured him so badly. Do you have a grief like that you sit with? David was sitting with it. And it took his men, those people that were faithful around him, to say, wait a minute here. Do you hate those who love you and love those who hate you? Are you letting this grief distort you and make it so that you can't even see any life and flourishing around you now? That is one consequence of a deep grief. And so how thankful we are that David has these faithful and loyal members that come around him, members of his team and his army, that can remind him actually of those who love him. I wonder if there's anything in your life that perhaps you are still ruminating and poring over again in your mind or your heart, that if only, if only, if only. But that isn't what is. Are you able to see what is in your life, absent that if only? In these coming days, and as we continue to live in a world where so many things have changed, and where we could absolutely stay in the moment of if only, if only, if only. Let's give those tender places to God. Let's ask for those people to come around us who can actually say, wait a minute. Are you actually loving something that is out to harm you? Are you actually fixating on something that, dear friend, you can never have? It's time to let it go so that you can turn your eyes to see what is, what you do have, those who do love you, the life as it's being shaped around you, within you, and before you. The Bible helps us walk along with people in this deep life of faith. It is not always easy. We get to see the depth and the height of human emotion, human experience. May we use these opportunities to shape our hearts and to look for and long for the Lord who loves us. Blessing to you this day, Lake Grove. God is with you.